Welcome back to the Actual VR podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Mann, the owner of Actuality VR. This is the podcast where we give you a behind-the-scenes look at the VR revolution in real time with real professionals. We take a look at immersive tech news and interview professionals in their respective fields. Today, we're joined by Amy Wolf, the senior producer of Vanderbilt Communications. Amy and I have worked together on providing Vanderbilt with the first ever narrative VR admissions video, but beyond that, we've shared some emotionally charged experiences that will forever entwine us. But first, we're joined by team member and past guest of the show, Julian Messina, as we talk about the news stories that we covered on the Actual VR show this Monday. Don't forget, if you've been enjoying this and all other content we put out, to subscribe on your platform of choice. With that said, let's do the thing. Rhythm. Aneurysm. We're rolling. Welcome back. Didn't see you there. We're here with a very special guest that you've seen him before. He was a second segment guest, but we're bringing him back because little did you know he's a part of the team. If you watch the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's a friend. He's a smart dude. He's an audio engineer, an audio genius, some would say. Julian Messina.
I don't know if I go that far, but thank you, dude. I'm so happy to be back. I had so much fun on the last one. I'm ready to just keep diving into these topics if they need to be explored, man.
I think the guests had a lot of fun with the technical that we went over.
Yeah,
we went through a little bit more of the technical side, but for this part of the show, we're gonna skip. Although we have your audio input here, we're gonna talk about this part of the show where we go over what we talked about on Monday with the Actual VR show. Mm-hmm. And this past week, we talked about some new VR hardware that's coming out. We've got the Vive Cosmos. We have talks of the AR headset that Apple's putting out there, and then Nintendo, they've got some things going on with the Switch. We also talked about a friend of mine, Rachel Bracker. She's coming out with a docu-series about women in aviation called With the Wind and the Stars. So we talked a little bit about that. And then finally, we talked about this VR app, Paradiddle, this VR game. Essentially, you go in a headset, and this guy, it started with this viral video of a guy playing Assassin by Muse, completely in virtual reality, and how that can, we talked about translating that into actual skill. So pretty cool stuff. I'd love to hear your opinion on all of these things, but we're going to start a little bit with the VR hardware. We have the HTC Cosmos, which the HTC Cosmos is a it's the newer version of up from the Pro, the Vive Pro. So they have the original HTC Vive, you have the Vive Pro, and now they have the Vive Cosmos, which is a still a wired headset with a better resolution. You can put the TP cast, I think is what the name of it is. You can put that wireless adapter on the back there for it to be wireless. But specifically, that faceplate right on the very top there comes off with the top and bottom camera. It solves a lot of problems. So actually, Julian, so you've done some work where you are with the guys from Rabbit Hole.
Yes,
which
I love Jennifer and Mitchell. They're so much fun.
Yeah, so on the podcast last week, we had them on and we talked about a lot of this stuff. So they have a mixture of the Vive Pros and the HTC Vives. So they added this lower camera and this top camera specifically to combat when we lose traction or tracking of the controllers over your head and below your chin. Which, if you're shooting a bow, it's back here. If you're shooting a gun, those are all places your hands are going to go. Do you see that problem with the either one of those headsets?
Well, the thing is, so this headset I feel like is a bit of a controversy, at least emotionally, because you look at the controllers and you're like, I recognize those, they look like the Quest controllers, but it's okay. We're talking about tracking though.
We can talk about whatever.
Well, I kind of want to cut into that for just a second, because you look at this and you go, oh, they adopted a really good idea, which what came through with the Quest. Only problem being that it's still wired, but they're not necessarily going with that. I mean, they're just like, okay, we got a new headset that is a little better, smoother. The other thing that bothers me about these controllers too is that they're using light. And the biggest issue with that being is battery consumption.
Which I want to say,
and they're heavier because of that. It's little things, but
I don't know why, but I saw this on a post. Maybe you can help me validate this. This is just hearsay at this point.
Yeah.
I heard that it takes AA batteries. It's like
it does.
2 hours of That can't be right. Like 2 hours of battery life before you swap batteries.
I saw the double A's as well. And honestly, to me, that's a little irritating because that's going back to the Game Boy days where you've got to buy packs of batteries, and it's like
always got to have them with you.
We left this in the 90s. Let's not do this again.
You know what? That's the one thing with the Oculus Go that I did not like. That if my controller died, I was screwed. Like they didn't have another way of navigating the headset were it not for. If you didn't have double A batteries, you just. Now, again, the Oculus Go is a portable VR headset, so it made it a lot more convenient than something that obviously exists at your home. Or
right.
But yeah, no, AA batteries definitely inconvenient. I do like the fact that they, the resolution is better. I like what I think they're going to do slightly better than the Pro, and they said 80% better than the original Vive. So we have a regular Vive at the office. We have the original Vive, and it's amazing. I don't have any problems.
It's still great. It's a great workhorse.
It's still a great headset. Now, if I was going to upgrade to the next headset, I might do something like take that headset and use the index controllers, something to that effect, because it all works with Steam VR. So it's pretty cool.
That's okay. That's what I'm really excited about. So there's obviously things that we're paying attention to now, which is like increasing resolution. Like, I made a joke about like we've seen these controllers before, but like they realized, hey, these work better. So yeah, we're going to adopt this. And I have to step back and give them some credit on that because, we're now in a place where they're putting out better hardware and you can now start mixing and matching, which is, I think, the most exciting part is you can go, okay, I either want to get an index or maybe just the controllers, and I can still kind of rely on what I have here. I mean, let's not negate something here, like the audio strap, correct?
So they have it built in. Like it's no longer an add-on, which that was one of the best investments, like best improvements I made to my headset.
So like, again, and
it flips up too. This headset flips up to where you don't have to peek through the nose. It just flips right there.
But we're back to preferences again, where it's like I can either get the index, which is going to have the outward drivers, or I can stick with what I know and what's more comfortable. And plus, they added the flip lid side to it, which is
flip lid.
I like to call it flip lid.
That's a good name.
But like, you can actually be immersed and take a second to figure out what's going on, and you're not.
You do it a lot, especially if you're developing or if you're editing and you're using something.
And that's
great.
why that's a great option.
Yep, for sure. All right, so we're gonna move over to the AR iOS 13 AR rumors. So they've been hinting. Apple's been taking out patents for an AR headset since like 2011. It's not. They haven't been quiet about it. I think they're just kind of waiting for the right time. Well, we saw specifically in iOS 13. This article in Engadget refers to a file that was inside the README, or it was something that was alluded to in a README, essentially saying that like telling Apple employees how to navigate the interface without an AR headset. So that implies that there is an AR headset, or they're preparing for one. Yeah. It's also within their power to be able to say like we're this close, but it's not quite time yet. And hold on to it for a while, and they'll wait for I think Apple will wait for the moment that's going to be the best for them and for their customers.
Well, but see, again, being content creators, like it's another opportunity that legitimizes what we're doing. When as soon as a company like Apple says, "Hey, we're on this and expect this," you feel that you can start to jump in this and start dreaming a little bit bigger on what you want to do, because now you've got an opportunity to put more content out to more people, because there's a lot of iPhone users. But I mean, for me in audio, like that excites me as well, because looking at iOS 13,
they have what the
sorry, I'm just
the 8. Don't worry about it. I'll be able to cut it out.
Okay,
I'll be able to clean it up.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let me come back a bit. So looking at iOS 13, what's exciting to me about that too is they're also incorporating more Dolby options. So the fact that I could
specifically Atmos, right?
Atmos, right?
Yeah.
So 3D audio potentially being a thing. I imagine first you'll be experiencing like really great surround mixes for films, static. But the fact that all these pieces are starting to come together, like when you look at Apple and you start seeing these things, it's that this is for real, and it kind of segues into Nintendo in that like Apple is smart in that they wait and they see what's been tested and what's working, and then once they know, they can kind of go ahead and start really making it, shiny and pretty and
exactly what they want it to be.
Exactly.
Totally. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the next story. So we mentioned on the show that there's a Nintendo a patent for another VR headset. We had the Labo in the past, and it didn't. I haven't followed up with it, but it didn't seem like I didn't hear much about it after it came out. So that was pretty exciting. But we're gonna go ahead and switch over to their second story, which was With the Wind in the Stars. So my friend Rachel Bracker, who I met at South by Southwest several years ago, has been doing some amazing work. 360 Labs is where she works, but she also creates. She's an independent filmmaker, so she created this episodic docuseries that allowed you to. It's kind of shining a light on the fact that there's not a lot of women pilots. In fact, proportionally, like less than 10% female pilots. So she's just telling their stories, maybe to inspire women to. Maybe to fly and to show where there's a need, and also to tell their stories, because it's a very unique story. They're in a unique position. But she's been doing a wonderful job with this. And so she's got some really cool shots. If we can pull a little bit of it up, maybe start with like the first 10 seconds or something.
Oops, I am playing out of the wrong input. And I'll fix that right now.
So this was... Rachel, I hope you don't mind. You shared this.
24 years old.
This was shot with the GoPro Fusion. This shot right here.
To be a pilot.
It's such a great camera for shooting inside of a car or a plane.
Right. You can really get close, and you're not worrying about distortion so much.
Yeah.
I am from Damascus in Syria. That's the capital of Syria. And I love Syria so much. I mean, I grew up there. All my memories are in Syria. When the war started in Syria, I was 16 years old.
So there's a lot of... if you guys get a chance, go on, look for With the Wind in the Stars on Facebook. You'll see a lot of this content. But when we talk about storytelling in VR, she's going out there and telling stories. It's a piece of content, with a lot of people doing roller coasters and jumping off which have their place. Jumping off of mountains, doing stuff on cars. These are people. She's telling stories of actual people, which is I think really, really cool. Cool for the medium, and just really inspiring to see.
Well, and I mean, because you've had experience with this through like Never Thirst and doing those kinds of things, like to be able to pull emotional appeal and be able to bring you into this is somebody's life and this is what they're doing. This is kind of what we've been waiting for with VR, where it's like, hey, can we do something that will, bring you in further to get you a better sense of who these people are, what they're trying to do. So
it certainly takes a cake for sure.
Yeah.
As being what you should do, storytelling wise, for with that medium.
I'm
really
confused on what's happening.
Really,
Nick has left the building. But guys, so With the Wind in the Stars, you guys, we're gonna drop that link down in the show notes. But go ahead and with this last story, I'm super pumped to hear Julian's take on this last story.
Okay, yeah. So Paradiddle,
as an engineer, as a musician guy, and as somebody who knows how to set up a MIDI trigger, I'm super into it. Tell me how to set up a MIDI trigger.
Okay, so we talked about Paradiddle. Actually, maybe play a little bit of that video.
Love to.
On Paradiddle's website. So this is essentially a VR application. You put your headset on, and you can learn how to play drums. But it's a little bit more than, and we're gonna have to mute that. They do play Assassin by Muse. So just like yeah, that one right there. Just have that in your head. Yeah. And he goes through and he shows. Yeah. So he's playing an actual drum set, which is super cool. But it goes beyond that. I think what we were talking about, the potential goes beyond just like, hey, learn how to play drums, because this is the next step above, Guitar Hero or Rock Band. You could like get the rhythm, but you weren't learning how to play the drums.
Yeah, I mean, for me, well, what's funny is I actually grew up playing drums as a kid, and I remember I was fortunate enough to get like one of those electronic kits, and I would play Knights of Sidonia over and over again. I could play it at all hours of the night. So when I saw
That's
this,
awesome.
I had a couple thoughts. First being that, being a kid again would be, being able to do this in the comfort of your own bedroom. You're not disrupting anybody even more. I mean,
might be a little weird to walk into.
I mean, yeah, it's like, well, what are you doing? But on the production side, though, I love this because of certain MIDI potential where you could control a sound bank essentially and trigger different drum sounds. I know for me, different times like, well, what if I could just play a part out and get some pre-production stuff, just some ideas on what I'm trying to articulate, and why not just play it rather than poke little MIDI notes.
Phil Walton talked when we talked to him. He's a Snapchat guy. He uses Snapchat lenses to just do quick mock-ups because the tools are so easy to be able to like scale something. Really?
Uh-oh.
Look at
that.
Oh man.
Ladies and gentlemen, tell them what we have. Nick, thank you so much for heading out there.
It's Julian's birthday today, and we've been pretending like we didn't know all day.
Not only is it Julian's birthday, it's also
Patrick's birthday, and it's Robert's birthday was just a few days ago.
Yeah. Holy shit.
It is your birthday,
I'm not
right?
bleeping that out. That's staying in
It
there.
was the 17th, but
what?
But whatever. I mean, this is
Let's
guys.
let's I'm gonna sneak in there and show the cake.
I got the wide shot going.
This is
All right.
incredible, dude.
We didn't have a candle, so just pretend to blow it out. Just spit all over the can.
I'm so shocked and so thankful. Oh my god.
This is a custom kit too,
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, I got the logo on there.
Julian,
That is
Patrick, Rob got our logo.
That is so
It's gonna
awesome.
taste amazing too.
Can I just get a little scoop on this?
I mean, if you want to.
Oh, it's nice and cold too. It's so hot out.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you, Kyle.
I realized that when I was talking to you, and I was like, "Hey, you should be on the show." I didn't realize it was so close to your birthday. So
Wow, I'm pretty shocked.
we
right
decided.
We love you, big boy.
Everybody decided
Love you guys
we'd
too.
we'd
This
get
is
you a cake.
amazing.
You have to eat all of that on camera right now.
You want to see me do it?
You've got a minute and a half. Casey, producer Casey, how much time does he have?
Oh no, we got. No. How much time do I want him to have? I wanted to throw his face in there. But no, I do want to I do want you to finish up your thoughts on MIDI controllers. I know that we completely sideswiped you.
Yeah,
with,
this is totally a sideswipe.
Yeah.
But
Podcast producer Casey wants to know the details.
I do.
Man,
I do.
okay. Well, again, thank you guys. That's so kind. Thank you. MIDI controllers. Okay. So this is an exciting thing, especially for producers. Setting aside the game side of it, but it makes me think that companies like Roland or others like that are going to start looking at that more legitimately and go, wow, we could probably start supplying really good drum sounds. This is something we should be thinking about. And one thing that I would hope too is maybe there might be new controller investment where there might be drumstick controllers or some kind of
something. Or integration with pre-existing hardware. Like how do we
right because I know as a kid it's like I had the option you could buy these like rubber pads that you could set up in lieu of a drum set where like they would be in certain positions to have that kind of feedback. So I know, like, maybe 10 minutes, you've kind of like arranged your toms and your snare,
exactly.
your kicks. You know where they all are, and then you're actually playing, and then you get the visual aspect too, which looking at all those waves just like go out into the distance. That would just be so much fun. Yeah.
No, I mean the fact that you could literally produce, like when I think about the EDM scene, using Ableton controllers,
right.
Could you imagine writing songs in VR entirely, just like having like going through and just whether using drumsticks, whatever you're using, that'd be really cool too.
Well, here's the other side though.
It's a whole new performance.
Okay, that's exactly what I was going to talk about. Was now this is legitimizing performance even further. When you start seeing people come out with instrument options, in VR, it's like now you're giving them an option to, well, can we do live virtual performances that are, maybe are more electronic driven just based on the fact that that's sample based. But I mean, you see it in the music now. It's like the only thing it's missing is like a visual component and like a whole unifying like it just
Yeah,
like
dude.
your
Well, I
ideas
think-
can just go crazy.
I think Wave VR is doing an amazing job at
Yeah.
showing the
That was
need
fun.
and the potential for online, like virtual performances. And I think when you start adding new controller options, like the one we saw there, like the possibilities for performances and live shows and new ways of creating music and consuming it is. I mean, virtual. We talked about it in the movie industry. Virtual reality is at the very cusp of absolutely revolutionizing the way we look, hear, and see things.
Right.
That's what. Yeah.
Well,
Look and see are the same things, but you know,
right.
it's changing the way we consume content. It's changing the potential for all those things. And I think the people that watch this show, the people that are interested in VR, the people that we talk to on the podcast, and the companies that we talk about on the show, they're all writing essentially the history of virtual reality as we'll see it 10, 15, 30, 50 years from now. And it's really cool. But we got to wrap up the show.
Yeah.
It's time for our
Thank you.
guests. Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you for being on. We have a mutual friend, somebody you got to meet, Amy Wolf, coming up after this. So
Awesome.
You had a chance to meet her. But Julian, as always, dude,
Thank you.
good to see you
Thank
again,
guys.
man.
Thank you.
Always good to see you. Our main guest today is the brains and talent behind all of the video content you see from Vanderbilt University and a pioneer in the immersive tech space. Uninspired by the implementations of immersive tech in admissions at the time, she was determined to do it better. With a quick Google search, she found us and friend Wes Bertner, and the rest is immersive recruitment history, as the video was a huge success, shattering expectations. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Story First creative and all-around wonderful human being, Amy Wolf. All right, guys, and we're here. We have a very special guest. We have somebody who started out as somebody I was working with, and now I consider you a friend.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful that you took time out of your very busy day, very busy schedule. You have a million things going on to come in and talk on the podcast. So thank you very much,
pleasure.
Amy.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Oh, it's great. Well, we first met. Well, you know what? Actually, I think Wes Bertner, who is going to be on the podcast as well, he reached out initially. Is that how that happened? How did you initially come in contact with us?
I started Googling, doing what everyone does.
Yeah.
I had this idea of something tied to VR, and I was like, who does VR? And I just did what I always do, and I just started Googling, and I found you guys.
Awesome.
And I really didn't know where to start. So I really just started making phone calls and sending emails, and Wes reached out right away. So, I mean, it was a totally new journey for me. I also very rarely hire outside. We do everything ourselves. So, you know, like a lot of people, I just tried to find you, and it all came
Got
together.
on the Google machine.
Yeah.
The Googleizer. Yeah. So we ended up, we met up. And one of the things that I think we connected on almost immediately was that the concept that this needed to be a story.
Yes. Definitely.
Because we looked at, there had been immersive content with universities before, but it was all kind of that virtual tour. Like they had, it was just still that kind of vibe where you go out and you explore, but we wanted to do something that was rooted in some story. I
100% believe that all videos should evoke emotion. I say it so much, I feel like I should have it tattooed up my arm. Because we have a virtual tour where a student is taking students through campus. It has pictures and stuff like that. It's giving them the information. I want video to make people feel something, whatever that feeling is, excitement, emotion, sadness. I want them to care. And so I thought if we're going to do a cool new thing like VR, and if we're going to do something where we're going to be paying for it, I want people to feel something.
Yeah.
And it's not like they have to feel like I want to change the world, but what I want is, are they going to feel like, wow, Vanderbilt is a cool place and these people are great. We care, because that is a big part of the way the university really is. It's so authentic, and I want people to feel that way. And it's hard sometimes when you're doing something for a university, for every university not to look the same. So emotion and showing our true emotion, I thought, is what would set us apart maybe from some other schools.
So what, I mean, you you didn't have, and nor do you currently have, immersive content creation as a part of your day-to-day job.
Correct.
So what was that moment when you decided, like, okay, maybe we should look into VR? Like, what was that thought process? Like, how did you get to that conclusion?
I work with admissions, and they were going on a big international tour. And the question was, how can we portray Vanderbilt for students who live thousands and thousands of miles away? Also, this project specifically that I met you on the first time was tied to China. So how do we help a Chinese audience understand everything that Vanderbilt is?
Yeah.
And that's a big ask, because a lot of people in China have never heard of Vanderbilt for sure,
Yeah.
or have never heard of Nashville, Tennessee. They're just thinking,
No clue what's there.
they just may have an interest in coming to the United States to go to college. But this project was, it can be used beyond that, but that's what the original impetus was for this big international tour that Vanderbilt and a bunch of other schools were going to be going on together. And I really wanted to set us apart, to make us special. And like I just said, I wanted them to feel that authentic warmth. And so VR seemed like a really cool way to go. And some of the other schools had, when we were talking about all this, loved the idea of VR. But their first thing was, we'll do a virtual tour. And I have to say, I thought, oh, yes, because we're going to do so much more than that.
Yeah.
And that felt exciting, though a little risky, because you're trying to introduce people to real students, and you
Yes.
hope they like them and stuff like that. But I think it turned out really well, especially considering a lot of the hurdles we had to jump.
Yeah, so guys that if you're listening here, well, of course you're listening. If we had a very particular challenge when it came to filming this, because we had a deadline that we had to reach. Well, we had to film it with a certain amount of time beforehand. Well, that time was during a break, so there was practically no students on campus at all. But we needed to fill this video as if this campus was alive. There's people there. It was during a semester. Certainly challenging. You handled a lot. I mean, all of that. That was all you. But it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because we met Troy. Troy happened to be there. Troy is the kind of your friend along this ride through this experience. But I feel like, for the most part, we were able to gather some people together to have this convincing story that it was there.
Yeah, that is one of the things that, when I'm not technically in the admissions office, so I don't know everything that's going on their calendar. So when they brought me in and said, explain the situation to me, it was pretty close to the end of the school year. And I'm thinking, so everyone's leaving. But I love having to deal with those type of constraints. I know sometimes people hear the term creative constraint and it's like so overused. But to me, that adds that cool challenge. So it's like, okay, we've got this great idea, and we can either say, okay, let's throw the idea in the dumpster, or let's try to make it work. And with the beauty of video, it doesn't have to be exactly what it is. You can help to create that.
Yes.
For me, what was a really interesting challenge is that VR is 360. I'm used to trying to create a scene that's just right in front of the camera.
Yeah, you can frame it. Like, there's a frame.
Right. I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, everything has to be there. So that was interesting. Troy is amazing. He is a native of China, but he had come to high school in the United States. He loves Vanderbilt, and he has such a genuine heart. And this is another thing. I will never use actors in any Vanderbilt anything.
I remember that being a specific point that was made in some of the emails.
We use real students, real professors, real staff, because we are a family, we are a community, and the second we start using actors, then we're not authentic anymore. And at least in my videos on my watch, I just, not only would I not want to do that, but I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
And Troy, who is very much not an actor, literally was like, "Hey, want to do this?"
Yeah.
And he
did so good.
He and a bunch of the other students were just, and professors.
Yes.
They were just along for the ride. I think that sometimes comes with building relationships too. I said, we're doing this cool experiment.
Yeah.
Let's try it. And the nice thing about academia, people are up for that. They're like, oh, I get to try something new. I mean, I think people can't be afraid of failure. I mean, it's only a video.
Yeah.
The brain surgeons are over on the Vanderbilt Medical Center side. We're making videos. So I think, when you realize it's a cool experiment.
Yeah.
And it was a really successful experiment.
Yes.
Because the families and prospective students loved it. By far said that your video that you created, was the best one on the tour. And
that's excellent.
Of the updated video we did, same thing, just absolutely love it for the very reason that they felt emotionally connected. They felt that they could feel like what a real student would feel. And, but then it also tied in with the things that are important to them, like rankings and where we are academically, but they got to feel what we're trying to get across. So it was a huge hit, and I know that the admissions counselors have really loved it. So
that's great news.
Yeah,
That's win. I think that was the best. I was so nervous. I think. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank on the. There's an ad that on YouTube that keeps coming for a master class. It's a director, and he always says, if you don't feel like getting sick before your premiere, then you didn't put everything into it. Like you're not. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. And I just remember just waiting to hear back from the team. Just like, okay, how did we do? How did it go? How did it go? So I was very relieved. I gave a few fist pumps in the air just as soon as I heard it. But no, that was because there were some unique challenges in that it was in Mandarin, the voiceover.
Correct.
We had to hire a native Mandarin speaker voiceover artist.
Did we hire one or did we use a
for
graduate
the first
student?
One. For the first one we did, the second release we used a graduate student.
Graduate student.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I like the graduate student.
Yeah. Because Troy does speak Mandarin, but I think he was gone by the time. Because the video itself was in English, and then we had a voiceover as well. So, yeah, which just allowed more people to be able to experience it.
So one of the things that you had to do is that you were trying to hire a VR company who you had no idea, like, kind of what to expect when it came from a VR company. What type of what are the cameras? What was the process? Like, what were some of the concerns? And how did you, because I imagine there's a lot of people out there, they know the benefit of virtual reality. They've heard about it. It's really big right now. It's in the news.
Right.
If you do any research into the benefits of it, you'll find, some good stuff, some kind of fake stuff, but it's been proven to be successful. So like, what advice would you give to somebody who is maybe looking to make that step into a field they really don't know anything about?
Right.
But they want to be able to try it. Like, they want to be able to kind of test the waters. How would you recommend that they do that?
It was challenging for me because we're a really, really small shop and we do everything ourselves. We don't really have a budget I don't have a budget.
Yeah.
So everything I want to do for the most part, I have to do myself. My videographer and I do it. And like anyone who creates stuff, sometimes you come up with some gold and sometimes you think, gosh, I wish I could do this.
Yeah.
This was a perfect situation because admissions, first of all, they were willing to give some money towards it. And I said, I want to do this. We don't have the equipment. I have absolutely no idea how to do it. And this is not something where I can do a quick learn. And I'll tell you, I looked into it. I looked into how much is a VR camera? How does the editing work? Could we use it on our same editing software? And I I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but my mom taught me something where she said, if you're going to do it half-assed, don't do it at all. And there's something where you think, well, I'm going to try it, and if I fail, that's okay.
Yeah.
But as I did my due diligence and I was doing my research, I was like, this is going to be half-assed if we try to do it. And Vanderbilt's not half-assed, and I don't want to be either. So I have to find some experts. But one of the things I found challenging is that some of the people I reached out to, they are doing VR for like Ford, virtual reality experience. Oh, if you have $20,000, we can make you a video. And I absolutely did not have that budget.
Yeah.
And this was this intimate little experiment. So I was thinking too, I can't put my name behind something when I don't know anything about it yet. So that was a first kind of hurdle for me to educate myself, to learn, okay, here's what we can do and here's what we can't do. I knew what I could do was help come up with a narrative.
Yes.
Find the people, find the locations. And I will say, for when I met you and Wes for the first time, but especially you, because I knew you were the artist behind it, I'm such a good instinct person, and I trusted you right away. And you had that same kind of, you'd get excited and get that glint in your eye like I do. I think the first time we were talking, we were both like, yeah, and we'll do this and this and this. And I thought, oh, I'm going to be able to work with this dude. We're going to make it. This is going to be great. We're going to make it work. And so I'll be honest, when I met you, I just thought, let's go for this ride.
Yeah.
And I didn't have expectations because I had never done it before. And I looked at a bunch of VR videos. And man, that's the one thing. The level of quality is so massive that I'm thinking, if we're somewhere in the middle, that's good. So I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I will say, I did a lot on faith because I didn't know, but again, it's a video. And I thought the worst case scenario is that it would bomb and I'd say, well, we tried something new and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Or it was just okay.
Happens all the time.
And then it ended up being great. So then we come out as geniuses. So it just...
We received those awards. We had our hall dedicated to us.
Yeah.
We didn't have a hall dedicated to us.
No. No. But you know what? Yeah. Sometimes in this world, just getting a... that really worked, thanks, is awesome enough. So
that's super
I don't know
cool.
if I answered your question, but
you totally did.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not used to being on this side. I'm the one who asks the questions because I'm always the producer. I'm the one who does the interviews, so this feels a little weird.
This is great. This is great. The well, you mentioned something, and I had a kind of a question leading following it, but you said you're working within a limited budget. Now there are we've created experiences that are in for higher enterprise level companies. But what you said to me, because one of the conversations we had, you're like, guys, I don't think you understand, like, this is something that is needed, but admissions departments, they don't have that $30,000 that they can drop on a video.
No, not
a
at
VR
all.
experience. So like you were telling us, like, this is a market for you guys.
Right.
And that stuck with me, and it's continues to stick with me. And we've started to apply it to creating sales tools for medium-sized businesses or smaller businesses, because that's something that it's not accessible to those small businesses yet. So we're trying to find ways. But I want to ask, what if you didn't have a budget? What type of VR experience would you want to create for Vanderbilt?
Wow.
Kind of putting you on the spot here.
I would want to... Wow, that's hard. Okay, so when I think of Vanderbilt and what I love about Vanderbilt, and I cannot believe this, but I've been working at Vanderbilt for almost 13 years now, which is crazy. But what is consistent about Vanderbilt is this, and I keep using this word, but authenticity, carrying this idea of collaboration over competition. I mean, and this is amongst the students and the professors, and a lot of diversity and inclusion. I absolutely love the fact that the campus is over 40% minority students. I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Over 40%?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that.
I
should know that.
Not just ethnically, racially diverse, but economically diverse because of Opportunity Vanderbilt. So 65% of students are having a huge chunk of their education paid for. So we have a diversity of ideas and beliefs and opinions. And that is this magical thing. So I guess if I were to create a VR experience, I would want someone to be able to sit in some of those small groups. Like freshmen live on the Ingram Commons and they have these small groups where sometimes they're talking about pretty complex issues. I would want someone to be able to feel like they could be in that world. In a way, that would be like a really cool, if it was like a true virtual reality world where that person could also contribute to it.
Yeah.
But if they were just watching a video that they were in, I'd want them to experience that. But I'd also want them to experience being, on the basketball court during a big game, or really the baseball team, like being there when the baseball team has a huge game where you hear the crack of the bat. And our baseball stadium is really intimate for as amazing as the baseball team is.
Yeah.
So it is an experience where, like, you may very well get that ball from one of the big players and stuff like that. It's not like a lot of other SEC schools. Also, a lot of the cool research things, when you're going into the Wondery, and we did catch some of this, but students all the time are in there building things and collaborating on really creative things. So I would want someone to feel like they were really in all those things. I'd want them to sit in the dining hall and almost feel like, gosh, I could taste or smell that food because it looks so delicious.
Yeah.
But because I think that is what Vanderbilt is. I think there are a lot of things on a university campus we're not talking about. I mean, we're never going to have the experience of, a Notre Dame football game type of thing.
Right.
But not every student wants that huge, overwhelming experience. And we can give that in this environment that is just so creative and collaborative. So I say the campus is so diverse. The one thing the students have in common is that everyone's really smart. And sometimes it's really neat to sit in an environment where people are throwing out big world-changing ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why I stay, because I am so inspired there by everyone. And I mean, my job is to be a storyteller. So it's like, wow, I get to tell all these cool stories, and new students come in all the time. And they're like, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to cure cancer. And I think, be the person who does that, please. And let me tell a story about you in a video.
It was very humbling being around some of those students, listening to them talk. And just, I have just everything. It's just right over my head. It was really cool.
I did not go to Vanderbilt. I just worked there. I'm very proud of my state school education. It's funny working at a university because a lot of people at first are like, oh, this is so intimidating. Yeah. And I think, and I have so much respect, especially for researchers who spend their entire life studying this amazing little area, but they're an expert in their field. Mm-hmm. And I had to realize that, I'm an expert in mine. And I think a lot of times people who are creatives who make things and it's like, oh, well, I just dabble in this, I just dabble in that. No. I mean, you are a creative force and you are becoming an expert. When I met you, I had to say, okay, I know nothing, so I'm trusting you. Yeah. And you could have caved or you could have risen to the occasion, and you rose to the occasion, Yeah. So I think it's not always easy for us as humans to have confidence in ourselves. Yeah. And being at Vanderbilt around a bunch of super smart people, it helps me to say, I think I can. Well,
that's a lot of those people, a lot of the people that are so ingrained in their work, they have been spending their entire lives working on this project. They may not have a voice to be able to tell their story. And that's where you've done such an incredible job. The amount of content you push out on the Facebook and the YouTube page. And I don't even know the amount of internal videos that you do, but I do know that you crank out quite a bit of great content.
Thank you.
And have you come across, speaking of talented, have you come across students that are working in the immersive content field at Vanderbilt?
It's interesting. I'm always looking for students who are doing cool stuff, and especially in video. sometimes I literally just, I call it e-discovery, but I'm stalking them on the internet. That's how I do it. Yeah. I Google Vanderbilt and things like that. But I know of a graduate student who is doing amazing research in the virtual reality field. We also have a Vanderbilt grad who actually created a whole, virtual reality environment world. And now his name is escaping me. But shoot,
You're talking about Noah?
I hate when I forget. Not Noah.
Okay.
Noah uses this alum's environment
Gotcha.
for his
Okay.
research tied to helping people with addiction, specifically opioid addiction, which is really cool. And he's in the middle of that research.
Noah Robinson, by the way, is who we're talking about. Noah is now one of the heads of the Nashville VR Meetup, which they hold their meetings at the Wondery at Vanderbilt University. So that's really cool. I had it for a little bit, and we were meeting at Maker Studio, which was in a warehouse. Had no air conditioning. Poor planning on my part, taking full responsibility for that one. But yeah, he's done an amazing job with the VR Meetup. And then I don't know too much. I want to be able to have him on the podcast.
You should.
I think he'd be really...
I mean, the whole reason I did a story on him is because I was at the Wondery to interview someone else. And I saw this dude in a room with VR goggles on, just wandering around. And it's a glassed-in room. And I thought, what is he doing? And I knocked on the door. I said, what are you doing? And he showed me this. And I mean, it's, the thing with VR, there's such like a gee whiz coolness about it because it seems a little magical. I mean, it literally, you think, how is this possible? Or you go to put the goggles on and it's like, I'm not going to feel this. It's not going to be real. This is going to, and then you put it on. And for me, I like to escape into I'm pro escapism. But when I put on VR goggles, I'm like, I really feel that I'm in that world if it's, decent VR. So I'm glad I met Noah. And that was a super cool story. And I felt like a kid in a candy store when I saw how visual it is because obviously we could show people that. But he's doing really important work. So he's taking something super cool and fun and really helping people with something like addiction and different things. So I feel like when those two can come together, and that's kind of what a university could do, take that gee whiz thing and put some hard research behind it. So I think that's cool.
Yeah. No, medical, the medical uses, that's one that is completely, I feel so inferior when I'm having conversations. I know that, I know the benefits of VR for medical purposes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been helping people walk again, to visualize their legs moving.
Right.
And it's kind of this, it's overused in the VR industry. Like it's an empathy machine.
Yeah.
So, but what it does is it does elicit empathy. It kind of puts you places. It makes you believe that you're there. And it's really helpful when it comes to helping people understand the situations that they're in. That's why it's used in the nonprofit space, like to kind of understand where people from different backgrounds what they're working with. But I want to what they're working with. I want to take a little bit of time because we had so many stories so many different things that happened while we were filming this experience. I remember the first time when we went to the top of Kirkland Tower for this shot.
Oh my gosh, yes.
This thing is like, I mean, it felt medieval walking up the like we were walking up this huge tower.
It got scary.
It got scary.
I'm not going to lie. I
was
was like,
really hot.
Why am I doing this?
Robert, who's been on the podcast as well, Robert is afraid of heights. And so he was having a terrible time, but he was such a good sport. Like he went through all the way to the top.
Those stairs too, they have made improvements to those stairs, but in my mind I'm like, where are the improvements? Because I feel like one of those wooden rungs is gonna break and we're gonna fall
through.
And we all had to go single file and it was so steep and so hot.
Yes.
I kept on feeling this need to apologize to you, but I had never been up in the tower.
Yeah.
So it was new to me too. And I was scared. I was that situation where I was like, suck it up and smile until we get to the top. But then when you get to the top, it's that breath of fresh air and it's this beautiful view. And
I would love to be able to do that shot again from a higher elevation and be able, because one of the things, I think that's probably what helped a lot of because I think one of the things, the importance of that shot was, actually, Casey, if you can pull that up, it's about halfway through the video. But we had, and you can just pause it on the frame because I really just want to look at the frame here. For the people that are listening and not watching, we're going to pull up just a clip from, just go start about halfway through.
1 sec.
All right.
One of the things that was challenging with that too, I remember the view is gorgeous, but the top of the tower, I mean, it's
so
roof
prominent
and it's ugly.
Shot.
Yeah.
It's not a great looking, it looks like a roof.
It looks like a roof.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that someone who has goggles on, where they can really look out and they don't notice the roof. But if you're watching it on YouTube where you're doing
quickly,
that,
like you have these twitch kind of movement. Yeah. It's not as natural.
It doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
The big thing we wanted to do in this shot is showcase how close Vanderbilt is to downtown Nashville.
Yes.
And because I don't think people outside of Nashville understand how many universities are right there in the city. But yet, I mean, I sound like I'm a tour guide, but the Vanderbilt campus is also an arboretum. So, and
this is it right here.
Oh, yes.
We're in a cloud right here.
Yeah. So there's that kind of crap hole looking roof.
Yeah.
But
so we got a lot of roof there.
But the view is,
if you look to the right here,
so there's downtown Nashville.
Big kind of. So we definitely need to. I want to be able to come out here and do, because I mean, if you look at all the trees, if you guys, so if you're listening, not watching, Vanderbilt's campus has a ton of old trees, massive old trees.
They're
this is
huge.
They're incredible, and it's just a very wooded area. There we go.
I mean, it truly is an arboretum, and they do that on purpose. So it's beautiful when you're under the canopy.
Arboretum. What was that?
An arboretum is,
I know it's rooted
like a museum of trees.
Oh.
So it's open to the public, and you can go around, and there are labels on the trees.
I noticed the labels
that talk about the different type of trees, and then they work really hard to keep them alive and to have a diversity of trees, which lends to the fact that the campus cares so much about the environment, and we do all these things to help the environment. And so we love our trees. I am dreaming of someday them putting tree houses in some of those trees. I think it could be a great thing where the engineering school and then fine arts, like people could come together to come up with these beautiful tree houses. I guess the fear is that students will fall out of the tree houses, but every time I bring it up, they're like, come on, liability, whatever. I want a tree house, but someday would be a dream.
Yeah, we have a bunch of people dancing on boats that are being pulled behind trailers in Nashville. I think the treehouse would be okay with some sober students. I think we'll be all right. I think that's one of the things about Vanderbilt that we were really trying. I noticed is that some of these shots were just absolutely gorgeous. Just because of the campus itself, was really good.
Mm-hmm. And that was another thing with the challenge with the limitation of time, because really the campus is the most beautiful in the fall when all those leaves are changing.
Yes.
We were doing it when it was about 100 degrees outside in the middle of the summer. So not only do we hardly have any students, but the students we had were super sweating.
It
wasn't that bad. But
it was a little warm, but it was I think everybody was good sport.
But then you came back we did a kind of an update of the video where we added commencement, which I thought turned out really cool.
That was cool, yeah.
And we added a basketball game, which
this might be I think this is the older version.
Yeah, this
here.
is I think the first version.
The first version, yep. That was a little cool. I was really happy with this little transition.
Oh yeah, this is super cool because it's inside
the 3D printer.
The 3D printer.
Yeah, we got a little shot of the. Actually, this is the new one. It's the first second that the commencement, one of the commencement shots is at.
And then we have commencement at the end too.
Yeah.
But we have to tell the story of you at the basketball game.
Oh, which one? So we have a couple of things that happen at the basketball game.
So, Kyle, I was so excited because Kyle had teased me with this. We're going to put the 360 camera on top of the basketball hoop. And anyone who has ever even imagined what it's like to work with NCAA rules,
Yeah.
there's like 52,000 rules, and we got permission to have the VR camera on top of the basketball hoop.
Yep.
And I was envisioning that the basketball hoop would be able to be pulled all the way down to the ground. And they were like, no. And Kyle, without even skipping a beat, just goes, oh, yeah, I'll just climb up there. That's no biggie. This is perfectly fine. And we pull out this ladder that is literally a 2-story ladder.
Yeah.
And I'm
Massive.
thinking, should I have had Kyle sign some kind of...
You're fired before you hit the ground.
Like, if you crack your head open, you're not allowed to sue Vanderbilt. As you're going up the ladder, and then you had to climb on top of the hoop.
Yes.
And then, as happens in our sucky Wi-Fi world sometimes, the connection didn't work with all the students and everyone with their phones.
The GoPro. So we used a GoPro Fusion for that shot. I was so pumped about that shot. And we ran a test with it beforehand. Worked just fine.
Yes.
We came back. We had a battery. So we had a battery, external battery power. So we had power, could not connect to it during the game. And I was just sitting there just like, on the phone, just like pushing the button over and over and over. And it just didn't happen. I was so bummed. But it's just one of those things that you learn.
It was a learning experience. And as a typical PR person, I had sold this shot to athletics. Like, this is going to be the be all and end all shot. And because I really wanted, I wanted this to lead to good things for you. And I was really excited. But I do have a very cool picture. Remember, I took a picture on my phone of you up there as I literally was like, God, please let it get down without falling.
Don't fall.
It's
a little sketchy up there.
Yeah.
It was a little sketchy up there.
But it then we had the added thing that the seats were filled in the beginning, and then bless their hearts, the team got killed.
Yeah, they got annihilated.
Was it by Kentucky?
Kentucky,
By Kentucky. And I mean, the stands, like, we're emptying and emptying.
Nobody there.
And in me used to video, I was like, that's okay. The student section is still filled.
Yeah.
Except everything else is either blue or empty.
Yeah.
And I thought, crap. But we did end up getting some really good stuff.
We did get some good footage. We did.
It's nice when it can be a short video and you can use those magical seconds instead of minutes. So
yeah, no, that was we had some really cool moments because all from the first half of the game,
or the first quarter.
The first quarter, yeah. At that point, you started to see the scoreboard, and you could see the actual score, and you can't really fake the score.
Because Vanderbilt did so well just the basketball game before. And we were like, we have to go to the next game.
Right? Was it UT that you guys... Yeah.
And...
it's just the way it goes.
You know what? We know in the video world, there's a lot of stuff you can't control, especially when you're trying to shoot things in an environment where you can't manipulate it. So, but we got cool stuff. And again... This was for a video that was targeted for this international audience. So just being in a basketball arena, especially the way Memorial Gym is, where it's so cool, where the students actually have the same eye line as the court. There's no other SEC school that has that.
Yeah.
So we were helping them to experience Memorial Madness. So we wanted, unfortunately the team didn't win, but I kind of feel like we won in showing that experience.
Yes.
So, I just keep thinking, what is it that is going to make us feel unique and special, and what seems like a cool American thing? And to me, basketball and being right there on the court is pretty cool. So
that was we got a lot of help from oh my gosh, the mascot, his
Mr. C.
Mr. C, yeah, Mr. C was huge. He was a big help there too. He was getting into it.
He's a good sport.
We have so there's one more story I want to talk about. For people that don't know, I have a 3-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter.
Oh yes.
My daughter turned 1 in May, and in August, and we it was the day before commencement.
Yes.
She was born the day before commencement, and so the day after...
she was born on commencement day, because remember, you had to leave from the actual ceremony.
She was born the night before, and we hadn't slept. Yeah, the night before, hadn't slept, but commencement, we went and we filmed. Yes. It was absolutely amazing. I can't imagine what kind of mess. Julian, another guest on the member of the team, he was there. He was helping me film, getting some audio as well.
Because I do remember that because you texted me. You're like, my wife is in labor, and we were getting this big commencement shot, which obviously we can't reschedule commencement.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, shit, what am I gonna do? And so, but
like, I'll be there. But
as a mom, I'm like, whatever is best for you and your wife. Yeah. But in my back, I'm like, I hope I'm subconsciously being like, come, because did she have her baby at Vanderbilt, or it was near?
So we ended up, we planned on going to Vanderbilt. That's where we went for my son, but she went to labor pretty fast. So we had to go to Williamson County.
Yes. Okay. Now I remember.
So we had
I was thinking, it's all close.
That's what we planned on doing. Like, I would just have to like walk over and no, it didn't end up being that. But I think what had happened, she was exhausted from the night before. So she was sleeping during commencement. What I didn't know is they had taken my daughter back to NICU because there's a potential issue.
Yes.
And that's when it was literally, I got the text as so at the very end when everybody's tossing the hats, like my phone's like, zzz, zzz, hats going, this is amazing. I look back and like, okay, this is what's happening. Yes. Don't panic. I'm like, don't panic. But the timing of it was just, so I will forever remember the exact moment because it got that slow-mo shot of the ribbons going. I was really pumped about it. And like this all this cheering and joy and music. And then it was just like, oh, phone. Aww. But I'm so happy. Like that is just forever ingrained in my, like you're forever like time stamped in my life of like.
I hope we distracted you.
I had so much fun. It was hot. It was definitely hot. The heat distracted a little bit too. But.
You know what? If anything, I think that put things into perspective because nothing is more important than your family. So it's cool that the shot worked out, but really what was most important was the health of your beautiful daughter. Yeah. And I'm glad it all worked out.
Yes.
So it was like win-win. Yes.
It was good. Well, Amy, I think, this was, we could talk, there were a lot of stories from the shoot. Overall, I'm very happy that it was a success. I enjoy working with you. You're incredibly talented. I could go back and I could brag on you for a while, but I won't let you guys sit through. I won't make you guys sit through that. Just thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come here and into our humble studio.
I love it.
Talk
I said
to us.
I'm never on this side, so it was like a kind of a cool experience, and I loved working with you. I hope we have the opportunity to do it again. I think VR is so cool, and I'm still very clueless about it, except now, in the nicest thing, I don't necessarily have to understand everything because I trust someone who is learning all the new things. So I hope we can make a little video magic again. So
for sure. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. I had a great time sitting down with Julian, seeing him again, and then connecting with an old friend, Amy Wolf. I hope you got some tangible information out of that talk. She's a story-first creative, which means that she believes the same thing that we believe, is that immersive content in videos, stories in general, you need to tell stories. We created this podcast because there's a lot of talented immersive content creators out there, and there's no platform for them to speak on. So we want to give them the platform. If you guys know anybody that you think should be on this podcast, put them down in the comments below, and then we'll reach out. We'll work some magic. We'll have our people call their people, and then people will get together. But I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, you can find us on all platforms where you can find a podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Play Store. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're just give us a comment. Shoot us a like. And don't forget, every Monday we have the actual VR show where we go over the latest in immersive content news into this small little nugget size bit of information for your busy day. And for the month of October, I don't know if you noticed, but the set was a little different today. Little spooky. But that's because Spooktober is here. Don't know what Spooktober is? Well, you're finding out right now. We've got some exclusive content that's just coming out for the month of October because who doesn't love Halloween? Anyway, we'll see you next week. Until then, have a good one. Just enjoy life in general. Bye.